Welcome everyone to the third episode once again of the Loot Scroll podcast. I am Heedun, of course, without webcam. Also, Namiko without webcam is, I think his avatar is also sick.
Yep.
It's a
Very
new
ill right now.
VTuber technology. You can also get sick as a virtual avatar. So it's the future. Deal with it. And today, super special guest. We have with us Frosty, and I'm sure everyone in the video scene knows Frosty. And a long time ago, I was invited to a podcast. I think one of the first, maybe first episodes, or within the first episodes of the Value Pad podcast.
It was super early on, dude. That was like 3 years ago.
It was a long time ago. And here we are. The Value Pad podcast sadly is discontinued, but we can talk about that later. And yeah, we have here with us Frosty. If you want to like say a few words about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a BDO player. That's it. That's all I got.
One of many.
I don't know. Yeah, one of many BDO players that also streams on Twitch.
How did you start to play BDO? Since you're one of many, like where does your BDO journey start?
Okay, so I started playing I actually tried BDO right around the time Woosa came out, but my computer could not handle it. So I stopped playing BDO and ironically started playing Blade and Soul because my computer actually could handle that.
All right.
Fast forward like a year or two later, I think Dark Knight Awakening was like just coming out, and I swapped back to BDO because I just thought the combat looked really cool. So I was like pretty into it. And then once I did get a new computer, Blade and Soul's performance felt like crap, and then BDO felt much better in comparison. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just sort of, I've always kind of been into Korean MMOs. I don't know why. I've played Ion, Terra, Blade and Soul, and now BDO. So I think I like running in circles and just wasting a ton of time grinding.
Did you start with the Decay Awakening? Because you mentioned you came back with the release of Decay Awakening.
Yeah, so that's when so my first class was actually, I mean, I don't know if I could count these, but like Wizard and Valk I played to 56, but the first class that I really actually started playing was Sork. That was the first class that I was like, oh, this class is actually pretty awesome. I got my Sork to like 59, and that's back in the day when like you were pretty good at 59, you know, you didn't necessarily, not everyone was 60. So Sork was like the first class I got really into. And then I played Tamer for like 6 months and I got my Tamer to 62. And I literally had never seen a Kuno up until that point. Like no one played Kuno back then at all. And my first time dueling a Kuno, I was like, dude, I need to play this class. And I started playing Kuno, and I've mostly been playing that for the entirety of BDO with a bunch of different tags and rerolls in between. But Kuno's mostly been my main since like the end of 2017, I want to say.
Okay. Well, you say you don't know why you like Korean MMOs, but I'm noticing a pattern with your class choice. Let's say Tamer was a dark time, but
no. Well, okay, back then I don't know if you remember, but Tamer back then was so insane. Tamer pre-CC changes was crazy. Yeah, it still is pretty nuts. But
I don't know how Tamer is outside of Solare, but I mean, Tamer has been historically good against Sork, and I'm definitely feeling the new Tamer wave in Solare as a Sork. On EU, there's so many. Yeah. There's out of nowhere. They all disappeared,
really?
Thank God, and yeah, suddenly they're all back crawling out of their little hole with their dog.
With that new iframe that recovers stamina in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. So when you first started playing BDO, can you give us like a little bit of a rundown of like what guilds you joined? Were you like wanting to PvP at the start of it? Were you like a PvE player? Like what was your like history in BDO initially?
Okay, so let me just say this. I was definitely drawn into BDO from the PvP. It's one of the reasons I liked Terra and Blade and Soul. Terra had like a pretty fun 3v3 arena, and then the battlegrounds were pretty alright for a little while, and then Ion before that had really fun group PvP, and then Blade and Soul had like just awesome 1v1 and 3v3, except it was completely filled with bots in every lobby. So that kind of is what drew me to BDO, is the PvP as well. But in terms of guilds and like that history, just keep in mind before I say what guild I started in, know that the BDO interface was confusing. Like, I don't know if you remember when you first started BDO, but I didn't know what I was looking at. The interface, I think, it's come a long way since 2017. And when you're brand new to that game, it just looks super weird. Like the contract thing popped up on my screen while I was grinding at Sawsons, and I had no idea what it was. So I joined this guild, and I didn't know the guild's name until like 4 weeks into the guild. I just started talking to people, and then I realized when I went to the guild page, I was in a guild called Team Butt Chuggas. And I'm not even kidding. I was like, wait, what is our guild name? And it was literally called Team Butt Chuggas. And then the GM and the GM's best friend both quit the game. So the guild eventually ran out of money and died, and then the leadership got transferred over, and that guild actually went on to become Hex. And in NA, Hex was like a pretty all right node war guild for about 1.5 or 2 years, and we node warred and sieged, and about 6 months into Hex, I ended up becoming GM, and I was GM of Hex for about a year. We went to siege, and then had a merger, and it went really well for about a month, and then blew up in fantastic fashion. And then since then, I've just been bouncing around guilds. I've been in Black Rose. I mean, I know you guys are both EU, so I don't know if you know any of these guilds, but I was in Black Rose for a long time.
Yeah, I know them.
And then I was in, I don't know, I just bounced around a lot. But now I've just been kind of sitting in Noto for a while, Notorious, or the APOC Alliance.
So when you were a GM, is that something that you would do again when you were the GM of Hex?
Never ever again in my life. I would never even remotely consider. GM in this game is just a horrible, horrible atrocity of chores and work and drama, and I would never do it again. I do appreciate the time that I was GM, and there was definitely fun moments, but keeping spreadsheets, everything about being a GM is just so much work in this game. Managing personalities, trying to prevent people from quitting. And the other thing too is maybe it's a little bit easier in a guild that's really well established and has maintained for a long, long time. But one of the big issues with BDO for younger or smaller guilds is that you're basically a farm system for bigger guilds to take all of your members as they become good. So you're sitting there working really, really hard to recruit new people that have low gear, like, hey, we're accepting anybody. They start getting gear, they start getting better at the game, you coach them up, you help them, they understand node wars. Once they're kind of good at node wars, they start fragging, and then they get poached by someone else. I think starting a new guild is super hard in this game.
Pretty much. Off the back of that, what are your, like, so you played BDO for a long time. Now, what are some of your like favorite moments in BDO from like a personal like stand? Like, did you do something really cool when you first started the game, or like what are your like favorite moments in BDO like overall?
I don't know. I guess like I guess on a very generic sense, like just the friends kind of I made along the way. A lot of the people that I met in Hex when I was GM of Hex in 2017 and 2018, I still am friends with, even the ones that don't play, and we play other games together. A lot of them we've met in real life. We play League and try out other MMOs and other games together. So I don't know. I guess that's kind of like the community I got is a big part of my BDO memories, but I don't really have anything in particular. I didn't enhance a whole lot, so I don't have any crazy moments that really stand out, except for the second week that Vel was out. My friends like dragged me along, and I was complaining the whole time because it was so glitchy and laggy, and I really didn't want to go, and it seemed like a waste of time. And also half the people couldn't even get their loot because it spawned in the middle and you had to swim there and all the boats were in the way. Yeah. But for some unknown crazy reason, my first time ever going to Vel, I got a Vel's Heart back when like no one had one. So that was awesome. And also everyone hated me in my guild, so that was cool.
I always found strange in a way this kind of response whenever you're in a guild with supposedly people that, I'm not saying they would want the best for you, but you know, like when people hate you for being lucky or like forgetting something positive. I always hated it.
I do too. I mean, I get like teasing people and, you know, but there's a line.
There's people like, that get genuinely upset. I've seen people getting genuinely upset.
Yeah, and get kicked. I've seen people that get kicked out of their guild for tapping like a pen disto when they're in a like low gear guild and stuff like that. I had this guy that was like complaining at me when I hit a pen Griffin helm. He just went on this whole rant about how everything I get is free. I don't have to grind for anything. And it was just like, dude, you're in my guild. Like, we literally fight together side by side. I don't know what the problem is here.
You should be happy that your guildmate is getting upgrades.
You get stronger, guild gets stronger, right? That's like how the mental should be, so...
I actually did the thing you should never do, where I had a Tri-Ogre, and I bought a Tri-Leighton, and then I went for the Tet-Leighton, and it failed. And I was like, well, I got to just wait because I don't want to lose it. And I was like desperate, and I did it. I went for it on a 152 stack, and I got it on my second attempt. I just raw tapped and said, F it, let's go.
Oh, actually, I want to briefly mention that I think profit announcers killed the joy of announcing. Like, I love Biohack, absolutely love the guy, but since he started to do his announcing, I just don't give a shit about people announcing anymore. Everything is completely meaningless. When you see one guy clicking like 100 pen accessories, it's like, oh, okay, this is pen armor number 340, and this is like it completely takes out the excitement.
I think that, well, I think there's still, I think the level just changed. I think these days people still get pretty excited for when you get like a Tri Fallen God or a Tet Fallen God or Pen Black Star. So it's just the level has changed. The less common things, I think people still get pretty hyped. Especially like right now, it's if someone gets a Debo, it's like news for the whole guild.
Maybe I'm incredibly desensitized.
I think you're numb to it, dude. I think you've become
maybe I'm just old. Yeah, like my friend Toby hit Pen Debo a few days ago. I said grats on Discord, and that was maybe I should have said something more.
Are you supposed to cheer, dude? We got like a few Pendebos in the guild.
Congratulations, Toby. This is my verbal apology for not celebrating your Pendebo Reka more.
Like, I think it comes down to like how you play the game, right? Like, for some people, especially if they are on their like self-enhanced journey, like, I think for them it's like a lot more meaningful. Because I mean, I still get excited about getting like pen attempts on like Black Star and stuff. So,
do you guys still do your seasonal characters?
Yeah, I do it for the fail stacks. I power level it. I run through the skipped questline thing, and then I enhance Tuvala to tech because that's what gets you the 60 stacks, and then I get out.
Yep, and then graduate for the 100 stack, and then call it a day.
Yep.
Do you have like a endless stream of like dead characters, or do you just delete them afterwards?
I have a lot of characters that haven't been logged into in a couple of years. Man, yeah.
I love the idea of season. I think it's great. It's essentially full BDO experience. Kind of in a speedrun mode. But I do think there's that issue that if you do actually play the game, you end up with like all these characters that are pretty much dead, unutilized, and I don't know, I feel bad deleting characters, so I end up not playing season.
Yeah, I mean, they end up, you could make them, this is the sad thing, is when they took Oasis away, I haven't been to a boss. Even though I could equip all my characters with like the proper Tuvala and move them, but I'm just too lazy to do it.
Man, that was a great thing, the Oasis.
It really
the
was.
Oasis vendor.
Dude, I remember when it first came out, there were some people that were like, man, I had to play for 2 years to get tri-boss gear. This is not fair.
Oh, yeah.
1 silver. Was it 1 silver? I think it was either 1 silver or the equivalent of 1 silver. I think it probably still exists in Korea, like PC banks.
Yeah, they have, like,
that was the original purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that was the original purpose of the NPC, and like in PA's eyes, since players couldn't go to PC banks anymore, they made the NPC available for everyone. I think that was the original reasoning back then.
Did not know that.
The more you know.
Awesome. Well, we spoke about your story in video. So let's go over like your life as a streamer, like more of like a background, like how did you get into streaming? Did you stream any games before BDO or anything like that? And then like what happened as like a BDO streamer and your steps forward from that?
I guess the answer really is no, I didn't stream before BDO, but I did stream StarCraft 2 for a while back in 2011 and 2012, back when it was super easy to stream and you just instantly get people just because you're playing the game. But no, I didn't stream at all between that. Like, I stopped playing StarCraft 2 in like 2014, and I really didn't stream it that much anyway. So, no, I never streamed before BDO, and I guess the only real reason I got into it is because we were doing the podcast, and so we had a little bit of a following. So when I started the stream, it wasn't completely from scratch, but the only reason I really had a chance to start the stream is because COVID happened. My work shut down for like 6 months, and actually gave me a chance to try streaming, because before that I really couldn't. I didn't get home until like, you know, late, and it was basically like come home, Node War, and then I'm exhausted, and that's it. So yeah, that's kind of like how I got into it. At least I was able to get a lot of the people that watch the value pack to come hang out in the stream, and that's kind of how I got started. But I really only was able to start doing it once COVID happened. I was at home for a long time.
Shout out to COVID.
Yeah, I mean, it was for my immediate family. It was a huge opportunity because we were able to move. Like we were living in Los Angeles, and it's incredibly expensive out there, obviously. So, and we had a rent-controlled apartment that was like pretty old. We had it for about 10 years, and so it was relatively cheap monthly payment. So we were like saving money and stuff over time. But it wasn't feasible to actually like buy property out in LA. And because of COVID, where we both were able to start working from home, we could move kind of far away from LA and actually like purchase property. So yeah, weirdly, as tragic as it was, I know there's a lot of stories where like something like that happened. And for us, that happened because my wife works at UCLA and doesn't have to go in, even though it's like far. She just works from home. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
No, it's actually nice to hear like good stories about it as well. Like, you hear a lot of tragedy, like we obviously, but it's nice to see that you know, you got a stepping forward, and I mean, everyone will probably agree that you're like a great asset to the video streamers anyway. So it was pretty good.
The class discords wouldn't agree, but yeah. I'm with you.
Well, they hate everyone though, so. You don't agree with
before we talk about the class discords, 2011, I'm just like exhuming memories. Was it on own TV or like?
It started off on. I was looking at my account. My Twitch account is from September. I think it's from September 2011.
Damn.
Yeah, which is crazy because I was streaming with Ustream. I was streaming. I don't know if you remember Ustream way back in the day. And then I think I skipped Justin TV. I think it became Twitch TV already when I first like swapped over, if I remember correctly. But so in StarCraft 2 had this mini community. I guess you could kind of consider it similar to Reddit. But they had this. There was this website. I'm sure everyone's heard of Team Liquid from all the esports. But Team Liquid started as StarCraft 2 fan or StarCraft 1 fan site. And when StarCraft 2 came out, I was playing that game, and they had this on the homepage. They had on the right side, if you were streaming the game, it would show your stream. You could like submit a post, and it would put your stream up. So whenever you went live, you'd pop up on the right side. So it was weird because similar to how sort of Twitch's front page works, where you kind of, if you're in that top 10, you just get extra viewers because people see you first. It was like that on that website. So if you streamed, and you were, I was like high master and grandmaster for a while in that game. So just being like master, your stream would pop up on that right side on the home screen. You would just get like 400 or 500 viewers like instantly. It was pretty cool. Yeah. But back then I don't even know if subs existed. None of that even was a thing that I knew of.
I mean, did subs even exist back then?
I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't
monetization of content creation changed a lot. Over time, like, even with YouTube, like you kind of give it for granted. But back in the days, you had to have. I mean, I say back in the days, but like 6 years ago, not even. You kind of had to add what's called I don't remember the name, but you kind of had to rely on a third party to be monetized, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like donations or at least for ad revenue. I remember back in those days, while it was like crazy, I thought it was. Like, I didn't even think about having 300 as like today. If you start, it's so hard to get to 300 people. Like anyone that streams knows, like that is so difficult to start. So I was like 300 viewers just instantly, but relative to the rest of the community, it was so low. Like I was, the other streamers at the time that I was like competing against were like Day 9, who had 1,000 viewers. Destiny, when he played StarCraft 2, he had 4,000 viewers all the time. Stefano had, so it was like 300 seemed like nothing relative to that time, but nowadays it's like, oh man, 300 would be crazy to start at.
It's essentially impossible to start with 300. I think, unironically, getting to 10 views is really hard.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think it's incredibly hard, and that's why, like with the value pack stuff, I feel really lucky that at least I got a little bit of a start. Because, dude, I don't even know the advice. I'm sure Heedun, you've probably been asked this a lot, and you too, Namiko, is like, hey, can you give me any tips? Like, I just started streaming, and I have a couple of viewers, and I'm like, dude, I don't even. I guess like
OnlyFans.
Argue with people and cause controversy. I have no idea how to go from fucking 4 people to 10. I literally have no idea.
The
it
biggest
seems so hard.
Barrier to break is the 1 viewer barrier that is the absolute hardest to break for new streamers. As you said, like, well, 300 was a fuckload like 10 years ago, but there were so fewer people streaming.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not. It's absolutely not like today, where if you open like any games directory, you have you know, the first 2 rows that go from like maybe 1K to 100 or 200, and then you have an absolute ocean of 1 views, and it's a bit sad, but it's just how it works. Like those 1 viewers are not necessarily bad streamers or worse streamers than the high view streamers.
Yeah. No, I look at it like me. I played music for a long time, but it kind of reminds me of that industry a lot, where it's just like right place,
there's
right
a lot
time.
of luck involved. There's absolutely a lot of luck.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I got my Twitch start in a similar way, where I was the guild leader of a siege guild, and I was a massive shit poster on the BDO forums when forums were cool. So when I started to stream, a guildmate posted in war chat when people still used war chat. I don't know if anyone uses war chat anymore. So, oh, Heedun is streaming, and the first stream I had was 250 views. I remember.
Oh my god.
It was like absolutely crazy. I kind of rode that wave, essentially. And I kept streaming every day, even if my PC was super shit. I had to stream in optimization mode, like 30 FPS. Absolutely, like my PC was asking to die every minute. Actually, Namiko, how did you start? Like, how did you break the barrier?
How did I start? A friend of mine said, "Can you, like, you know, show me what you do in the game, basically?" And at this time I was playing Tamer, so I was just grinding the Desert Naga, like old mountain rotation on Tamer, and I just streamed for my friend. And one of the reasons I got views initially was because at this time was just around when Mystic came out, and you know Ayin, he was playing Mystic, grinding Desert Nagas, and he came up and attacked me. Well, I flagged on him and he killed me like 10 times in a row, and then I got 1 kill on him. And that 1 kill, he came to my stream, started talking, and then people started posting the stream around. And because I killed this like hyper-geared Mystic with like a crazy under-geared Tamer, people were like, "Oh damn, Tamer can actually, you know, do stuff." This was like pre-CC changes, like crazy. But it was like beating a day 1 like just released Mystic was like crazy good for people. And then one day I was mining Pilgrims to get some Ruststone. Back before like all the Manos and stuff came out, and then I got that lucky break because I got hosted by Private Wiggles. If you remember Private Wiggles from, you might not know him in NA, but he was like one of the biggest EU streamers, and he just randomly hosted me one day, and people started sticking around ever since then, basically. So that's pretty much the
way before my time. Private Wiggles, Rough Stones, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it was like oh god, this was like, I don't know when this was.
Before Manos?
Way before Manos, way before Manos. This was like when Lucari was streaming the game, like back then, kind of thing. Around like the series on YouTube, like the Guild War thing that Lucari loaded?
The guild arcs, the various Lucari guild arcs.
Yeah, it was like probably around that time, maybe a bit before that time. So, but yeah, mine was completely luck. Like, it was just, I was online at the right time, and I got hosted by someone, and people started knowing me by that reason. But then, like, it's one of those things, right? Like, you can provide crazy good content, and there's some people that just sadly won't get that break, because the content they provide is, like, might never get revealed by someone. Yeah. So, yeah, I think streaming definitely has a massive element of luck. Obviously, consistency as well is key. Because, you know, that one day that I weren't live, I might have not got hosted another day, right? So that one lucky break I got might not have ever happened if I didn't decide to go live that day and stuff like this. So
yeah, just get lucky. That's the tip for stream.
I think nowadays it comes down to a lot of who you know as well. Like, if you know a pretty big influencer, or you know someone who's like really well known in a directory, you can get like a boost by appearing with them or around them, or generally interacting with them before like you start your stream, you know, and then maybe they'll host you when you first start your first stream and stuff like this. Or, you know, if I mean, look at Zior, right? Zior is popping off in Arena of Solare. Super funny guy, hilarious to watch, but is known in EU as like a crazy good player as well. So it's like if you have a running reputation, and then you go live with streaming, it's like very, very nice, you know.
Talking about class balance, what race did you play in? What faction did you play in StarCraft? I feel like you're a Protoss.
Oh no! Come on, man!
Okay.
I played Zerg. I played Zerg. And Brood War
Really?
And,
No way.
Yeah, Zerg and Brood War and StarCraft 2. I was master, dude. I mean, I don't know if this means anything to anybody these days, but I was. So in StarCraft 1, I played on IC Cup, which if anyone knows, that was like essentially a private server with a lot lower ping than the normal Battle.net servers, and they had actual ladder maps because Blizzard didn't upkeep their game at all. On that, I was like not very good. I think the highest I ever got was like B- on Zerg. But in StarCraft 2, I would like try-harded. I bought the beta on eBay. I bought someone's beta key on eBay for like $150 or $200 so I could play it when it first came out. And I went like full on like all day, every day. And I was able for about 3 years, I was able to stay like in whatever division I was in, like rank 1 master, and then for a few seasons grandmaster. And there was all sorts of tournaments in Los Angeles back when that game was brand new. So it was super fun. But yeah, I played Zerg and only Zerg. I learned the other classes and played them a little bit, but I mostly played just Zerg.
Do you also go to LANs?
Yeah, these days I don't, but yeah. I actually used to go to, like, even when I wasn't participating in the tournaments, I would go to MLG and...
Oh, really?
All of it, dude. All
nice.
of it. I went to so many StarCraft tournaments just to watch, too. I still watch StarCraft tournaments, like all of the Korean tournaments these days, and like DreamHack and everything. That game is my favorite. It's so fun to watch. I still love that game, even though I know it's like really old and most people just think I'm a boomer.
Would you play it again? Like, do you play it on the side or anything like that?
Dude, you have to keep up with it's so hard, man. Like, every time I've gone back to the game to just play it for a little bit, it's just, I have to sit there and spend like a month trying to learn all the random cheese crap that people are doing so I can just survive the first 10 minutes of every game. So I don't know. It's just too hard. That game, I feel like you have to play a lot. That game is one of those games where it blows my mind seeing people that have played for like 7-8 years, like full time, and they're like in bronze. I don't know how you do it. Dude, I think it's so, I don't know, the mental fortitude you have to have is just wild to me.
Hey man, I've been playing BDO for 7 years, and I'm in the equivalent of bronze in Solare. So.
Same.
No.
All right, but Solare hasn't been out. It hasn't been out long enough, you know. You're still practicing, and also you're still learning to play with your team. You know, Sorks, you guys like to run off and do your own thing.
Oh, don't even dare to say that.
Yeah, I'm going there.
Don't even dare, because I am the greatest team player of all time, and I hate because I babysit people. I tell people, okay, we play together, we hold each other's hands because my class can't go very far. And what happens is the second a berserker is low HP, they start sprinting away, and I'm like, please don't go away, I can't help you. And they run away, and then Musa, who is 100 times faster than me, chases them. He kills them, and they're like, I was low HP, and you guys weren't there helping me.
Yep.
It's
no, that is a legitimate issue, and I face that all the time. Where it's like, or even to the Sork, like Sorks don't communicate. I rarely run into Sorks. Like Grim is awesome on NA for communicating. Durham is as well, but a lot of the Sorks I run into are just like they'll V in a completely different direction, not ping where they're going, and then I don't see them again for the rest of the fight, and I'm like, I don't know what happened to you. I don't know where you went.
When people V behind the enemy team, so they put themselves like on the other side between you and the enemy team. It's always lovely.
Yeah.
I think
Sork is a class you have to play close. I treat Sorks like Suck Nova when I'm with them. Like you got to just be on top of them the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. In EU, we have like a lot of good Sorks that are also very vocal. Sometimes a bit too vocal. Like when you're a Sork player, I guess if you're not, like, this is something that only Sork players know. So when a Solare match starts and two Sorks are in the same team, you hear a double
every time.
From both Sorks, because they know, you know, like, okay, well, let's pray Jesus that this comp actually, you know, will work out. Because there's two sides. If it's like two Sorks and a DK, the comp is legit. That's like a S tier, SS tier comp. If the comp is like two Sorks and a class that needs peeling, go next, you know, just 3 quick matches and think about the next game, because you know it's over.
Yeah, 2 Sorks and a Suck Mewa. How's that comp?
That's almost maybe, I don't know, it's probably still pretty bad, yeah.
Dude, I'm this. I feel the same. I mean, I feel that on Kuno. I know everyone likes to think that it doesn't happen because like, well, you have a grab, but it's like, dude, but when me and another Kuno both are using spin spree on top of a target, I'm watching their health go up and not down. It's really upsetting. No,
I almost wish, and I really hope they maybe change it just even to try it, to remove the chance of getting the same class together, because at the start of Solare, in the beta of Solare, I don't know how you want to call it, the first test they did, you could have 3 of the same class.
Yeah.
And that was bad.
That was really bad.
Same argument, 3 Sorks is actually good, but 2 Sorks is most of the time really bad. But I think the issue with multiple classes is, like, on paper, I think what they want is like these scenarios where maybe there's like, oh, a Succession Nova and an Awakening Nova, 2 very different classes that kind of work together. But what happens is most people play the same spec, right? I would say if you check the ranking, most people play the same spec. So what happens is the strong class, when it's together with the same class, it's almost always good. Like I can't think of a comp that doesn't want 2 Valks, 2 Moose. Okay, 2 Mooses I can see actually, but it's
oh
very
yeah, no,
good.
it's annoying. Yeah, no, I hate going.
2 Musa is still a blaster comp, but like Mystic, Striker, Berserker, Valk, all these classes. Too Shy is illegal. I remember I got a Too Shy game, and you know it kind of sounded like AAA meeting. It's like double A, whatever it's called. Double A meeting is like, so what are you guys doing after this? Like, how are you doing? Yeah. We just chilled together, and we knew we were doomed.
Because obviously they can tell what spec we are. You could see it in the post game thing. I would be even willing to meet in the middle and try where if they're different specs, like I could live with it if it was 100% like success rate. Like for example, if every time I got 2 Sorks, one was Suck and one was Awakening.
Yeah, that like kind of works. Yeah.
I would at least, yeah, because dude, getting 2 of the same class is either like it tilts me in every facet, because it's like, okay, I have 2 Sorks, that sucks, or I have 2 Kunos, that sucks, or I'm against 2 Suck Novas and I have a DK, an Awakened DK, and an Awakened Sork. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, there's so many variations of double classes that's just miserable for everybody, and I really wish they would not let it happen. At least try limiting it to they can't be the same spec. Like it would separate them if they're not the same spec. Everyone always makes the argument too. It's like, well, it has to be this way because the MMR and blah 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 blah. But when you look at it, the MMR doesn't even make sense in half these games, even when it is to the same class. So it doesn't matter. We're getting screwed on MMR anyway. Just stop putting us with double classes. No one likes it.
Well, the core issue is, I think, the Solare is just poorly coded, and the game struggles to support a mod like Solare. Because I think the way it works is the game finds one team, and then it finds another team separately, and then it pairs them together. Because it's the only way that this explains so many instances of one team with the same class that is completely different elo than maybe a similar team or like a perfectly balanced team. You see all these like super wonky combinations of classes that I don't think there's any other explanation than that. The game just has very big limitations when it comes to having a mod like Solare with matchmaking. There is a reason why we didn't have anything like this for so many years.
I don't know. Reddit and chat always says that it's because PA was afraid we'd see how bad the balance is because we couldn't recognize that.
Oh yeah, because no one exactly. Oh, everyone was so blind about the balance. The
we had no idea the balance was so bad. Thank God Solare opened our eyes to see that there's class imbalances.
One thing that frustrates me a lot is how team reliant you are in Solare. And it's a stupid thing to say because it's a 3v3. Of course, it's team reliant, but I feel like it's easier to have a negative influence than a positive one, especially if you don't play a top tier class. Like what I mean is it's so much easier for someone to ruin your game when it's in your team than I guess someone carrying, especially a lower elo on Stark at least. I have games where I just CC the entire ward and I'm in voice calling every grab, every cooldown, every single thing, and people are mute. You know, they just don't say anything. I think, yeah, this is one of the most frustrating things, like feeling hopeless sometimes. I don't know if you guys have had those games in Solare where you just know you had no chance to win. And it goes both ways. Sometimes you have games that you don't have a chance to lose. And those feel like filler games. Like they don't give you anything. You could have AFK'd and you would still won or lost.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, it depends, right? Like one of the things that can be tough is, I mean, if you get a game where even the comp seems fine, but then your teammate dies in the first 20 seconds, multiple games in a row, and then you have to try your best to give the speech of like, listen, we don't even need you to CC anybody. All you got to do is sit back and wait for one of us to say there's a CC, and you just throw your most protected safe skill at the person on the ground. And
that's when you hear the person died sound. But Frosty, what you said earlier made me think of a funny question. What do you guys think is the single strongest ability in BDO? Let's take away all like 100 and 200.
Okay. Are we taking away E-buffs as well?
Maybe E-buffs too. Not all E-buffs are created equally.
Like single ability, basically, right? Like a class that has a certain ability.
Let's say a default. What is the strongest default ability? I think for me, without having to think too much about it, I don't want to spend like the entire episode thinking about it, I have to say Mystic's Shift R&B. I don't even remember the name. Thunderpound?
Thunderpound?
Is it Thunderpound?
No. Yeah.
Okay. It's a skill
this is some
that
sword bias right here.
Oh,
it is. I don't care. I don't give a shit. So it's a multi-hit stiffen KD that deals damage and you can use it to hold frontal. Like I remember when I started to learn Mystic, you know, as a Sorc, I asked like, what is the combo? Like, let's say I land the first CC with Thunderpound. How do I second CC? Thunderpound. You can CC with the same skill twice, and you could just Thunderpound. Like it's too strong.
Okay. The skill is really strong, but the one thing about Thunderpound is at least it's punishable, right? It's like the one time you can actually catch a Suck Mystic.
A lot of Suck Mystic even do it wrong because you have to cancel Thunderpound. Like you have to speed Thunderpound up. You have to press S while casting it, and you do like a small back hop. I see a lot of like basic Mystics don't do this, but it's whatever.
I think the cooldown is absurd though. I definitely am with you on that. Like 3 seconds is wild. That is wild for what that skill is. But as just a single ability, I don't know. Wait, do you have one, Namiko? Because I'm still probably just gonna say.
Mine is either between the Suck Zerka, even without the 100%, with the Shift Q. Or Split Teleport. I think Split Teleport
pre-awakening
teleport.
Yeah, I think Split Teleport. As a mage player, like a Split Teleport being added to my Witch completely changed the way I played the game. Like it gave me a completely different like view on BDO and a completely different playstyle on the game. And like I auto create space for myself with the Split Teleport. So I think Split Teleport is like probably one of the strongest like skills in the game.
I'm so disappointed in both of you guys' answers. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it's because it changed the game so much for me.
And Split Teleport are the two most insane skills in the game. First of all, like half the classes in the game have better movement than Split Teleport. So I don't even know. Like
as a Sorc player, I cry at that sentence, but sure, go for it.
Well, I just mean like you can. I don't know, man. I guess.
But the Zerka Shift Q, I'd say, is probably the strongest skill in the game. Because even 100 or non-100, it's still crazily oppressive for what it is.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna say Searing Slam. Searing Slam is wild to me. It just is. Everything about it. I actually can't believe it also has like it just to throw, just to pile on it. Also, it's just a slow debuff. Like, why is it also a slow debuff?
Well, you know what?
I don't know.
Thunderpound counters that because you win because it's a block.
Okay, so but you can get around someone's block with Searing Slam.
Just quick opinion. I think you're against Resist too, right? We already talked about it on your stream.
I hate Resist probably more than anything else in this entire game. I think it is the most, and I cannot find it. I know people love to be like, well, if I'm a Suck Nova and I'm against a Suck Ninja, I'm just gonna get grabbed. It's like, okay, then why don't they take that 10-second iframe that you have and lower that to 5 seconds so you can actually deal with the Suck Ninja instead of relying on resist, or give it something that's going to help it deal with it. Like, the resists are so awful, and I can't even think of another. I don't know if other games have it. I don't know if fighting games have resists like that or anything,
God, no.
but I don't remember anything like that in Terra. I don't remember anything like that in Blade and Soul. It just seems so odd to me. And the thing is the result is so frustrating because so many times someone else's mistake that gets them caught, and then your re-CC gets resisted and you lose the game because of it, is just oh my god, it's so infuriating, man.
I think
it really
Armin said it best. He said that resist essentially is a mechanic probably created for bad players to help them, but it benefits good players more than bad players. Creating an even bigger gap between the good and the bad players. And I think they're just something where there's no winner, essentially. Well, like, resistance doesn't feel good. And
it was designed in a system that was entirely different as well. Like, resists were in the game at a time where all 9 of your hits were CC attempts, and evasion could help you avoid getting CC'd. And resists it was like super consistent. The only thing it was on, the 1-tick thing, was like grabs. But now, the way the game is, like, after the CC system I kind of could at least see the crutch of, like, well, a lot of classes are really unprotected. But now they are so protected that resists make no sense. Like, literally, I just don't buy any argument for resist right now at all. There is nothing that could convince me that they're good for the game. It honestly feels like like I say this a lot about a lot of different systems, but it feels like they're actively griefing the community with the way resists work and how they've ignored the issue for so long. And then the changes that they did during the reworks were like barely, I mean, it did help, but barely. It's just like, and then on top of it, the idea that I could throw in 1 crystal in my boot to max out a resist, and the opponent has to throw in 8 crystals and still have a 7% chance to get resisted in Solare is so... just what is happening? Why is that? I just think that's insane. I don't know. I hate resist so much, like, with a burning passion.
It goes even deeper than that, because if you don't want to get resisted, you are in a way forced to run CC penetration, which is what PA wants. PA says, like, oh, you don't like resist, run CC penetration. And in the way, it makes you forced into a one-dimensional build that works against one specific build that is just cancer to play against. So you're like, it's not like you counter that build, you're like you can barely play your class against that build, and then you're weaker against every other build. I don't know, it's just bad.
I mean, nowadays, pretty much every class can, like, perma super armor rotate, right? Like, it's not like it was before. Like, everything pretty much sits in super armor nowadays. You either start in a super armor, or you start in a forward guard. So you basically, you only can be, like you said earlier, I feel like resistance is made for new players, and it benefits new players. Like, you know, if you're someone new to the game, you know, get a second chance essentially. But a good player with resist is that one time they make a mistake out of 100 things, and then they resist, and then that mistake is no longer a mistake. I think that's like one of the biggest problems.
What about that new player that's having a hard time CCing a veteran player, and then they get resisted?
Exactly.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. That's true.
That's so weird. I caught them and I used my float, but it didn't work. Why is that? It's like, oh, we have this thing in the game where you roll the dice and it'll decide if you should get that CC or not, even though they made a mistake. Yeah,
I think a new player learning the game and, like, you know, looking, oh, this is gonna knock down. Okay, then you hit someone, it doesn't knock them down, then you're like, did I mess up?
Like, there are a couple classes that don't have as much protection as the rest of the classes. I would say, like, Suck Maegu fits into that, or Suck Musa. But again, if you're gonna crutch on resists because the protection in your game, the cool thing about being a developer that's actively developing and changing your game over time is you can look at what happens after the resists are gone and fix the issues. You know?
The thing that worries me about resistance, though, is that they are adding more to the game, and through different means. So I sadly don't think anything will happen, which is a real shame.
I have an idea. I have a project in mind.
Oh no.
I will stop if it's anti-resist.
I will stop resistance. This is like a big project I want to do. I don't want to say too much because I don't want the Koreans to be ready when it hits. But it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna remove resist from the game.
On the down low, yeah, afterwards.
It's on the down. Don't tell it to anyone. But
No,
before we
take
talk
this.
for one more hour about Resist, since we're already kind of running low on time, I want to say a few words about the new classes, Woosa and Maegu. Namiko and I played some Woosa. I see you're playing Maegu lately on Global. The class came out yesterday on Global, if I'm right.
Last night, yeah.
Last night. So there's not much known yet. I think it's too early to like give definitive answer. Also, Global Lab, no matter what you say, it's fucky. You can't get like real answers from Global that translate into the live servers. But I'm wondering, I guess, what are your 2 cents on Woosa, and then Maegu?
So I actually really like Woosa, and I don't know if you guys know like what the changes are coming on Wednesday, but I think that it kind of rounds out the kit pretty well. Because when she first came out, Woosa, in my opinion, for PvP, obviously in PvE, she's just straight up good. Like everywhere, she's good everywhere. I think that places where you had to pull, she wasn't super good, but then with the addition of the bombs, where you do have a little bit of extra pulling, she became a lot better. So just overall in PvE, she's just a great class. But in PvP, her main issue really is, I think her catches are fairly limited. But the knockdown her bomb is getting sped up, and then one of her other C skills becoming a lot faster. That's just a kind of a quick damage that's also adding a block break, which is pretty cool. So I think overall she's actually like pretty good. I don't think she's insane in any means, but I do think she's playable. Like in Solare, I think she's actually stronger than people think, but people are still kind of figuring her out and learning her. But I think with the buff, she's going to be a lot better. She's at one of those positions where I feel like she's going to be limited by the fact that the 4 super good classes are too good at the high end, if that makes sense. Like I don't think she plays that well into Musa, Zerker, Awakened Valk, like, you know, the main like meta classes.
Is she actually bad
Solare
against Musa? Because on paper she should be really good, no? With the minus movement speed on Shift F.
It's just that okay, first of all, that's really hard to land. But I guess that Shift F is like kind of hard to land on Musa. But I guess like I think the problem is that I don't feel like she has that many reliable ways to CC a Musa. Or like if you trade into him, like for example, if you use Shift Q or Shift RMB or even Shift LMB, and the Musa wants to use 2 skills on you quickly, like you're gonna end up losing that trade most times. So I don't think she plays that well into Musa. I don't think it's like hopeless and it's like a hard counter or anything like that. I just think she's not particularly good against it in a group sense in like 3v3. So but I don't think she's like horrendous or anything. So I overall think she's actually pretty solid. For me, maybe I'm just really bad at Kuno over the years. I've just gotten worse over time, but she feels easier to win in Solare than Kuno does to me right now.
Okay.
Partly because her damage just feels really consistent, even in trades. You can poke people down a little bit with like her forward E chain, or just as you're chipping down, you're just like constantly whittling people's health from a safe distance. So
the ultimate is really good as well. People on EU are catching up on the old. A lot of people are running 2 earrings, 2 BSR regen earrings, and slapping with the fun.
Her BSR is legit one of the best BSRs in Solare, like by far. It's one of the ones that's really difficult to react to, but if that stun lands, you have to V, or you're just on the ground and just gonna get comboed. And she also, her damage after that is so nice. Her ult can like legit win you a match pretty often. Yeah, but I think with the changes coming, she's gonna be a little bit better. They also are buffing her regen, which is funny because on Global Labs it was changed from 20 seconds to 30 seconds, that 300 HP recovery every 5 seconds. But when it went to KR, it actually lasts 40 seconds, which gives it almost 100% uptime because only a 50-second cooldown.
Are you talking about the third Rabam?
Yeah, the third Rabam. Yeah, it's almost full uptime. I don't know if you guys both said you're playing. I'm not sure which Rabam you guys use, but
that one. Yeah.
The third Rabam, the other one just feels so debilitating when you have your mana gone. I don't know, especially in Solare. Yep. The only other thing I wish they'd change, I wish Shift X, the knockback one, was a little bit faster cast. I think that would be such a great catch if that was sped up a bit. If it was more similar to like Kuno's Lunatic Discus. But outside of that, I think it's a good class. I think it's fun. I think her design is cool. I think she looks cool. I think relative to the state of the current game, she's fairly balanced. I know that's so hard to say in other, people get offended and find something to hate. but she's punishable. And if you play well, she's hard to catch, but you can make mistakes, and a lot of what she does is punishable. So it's more based on outplay. She's not just like 100% of the time throwing out protected CCs and completely safe, you know?
Alright, it's not a suck Dracania. It takes like some element of ability to play Woosa. Like a good and a bad Woosa is miles apart from my experience. Yeah. Balance talks with anyone. Like when the Ranger patch hit, I saw so many Rangers say that the class is dead. Stamina, impossible, can't move. They have no legs anymore. Impossible to do anything. And I'm like, yeah. Like you just no. Whether you say a class is really good or really bad, you almost have to always remain neutral, or someone will find something to complain about. But then if you're neutral, you're not expressing how busted this class is, so you're a bad guy for being neutral. So like with the BDO community, you just can't win. Like nothing you can do, sadly. So. It's crazy. How do you feel about Maegu then? I saw you you stayed up, like, because it was delayed by 3 hours, I think, Global Lab. So I saw you stay up and play it a little bit. Do you have any like initial feelings about it? I saw its evasion as well with the self buff and passive.
Yeah, so obviously we have to wait and see, because her first day she's probably gonna have changes. I'm pretty sure I've noticed this pattern since back in the Corsair days, that their live patch that comes to us is usually ahead of the global patch a lot of the times on new classes. Like the build that we get is a little bit behind the build that they have ready, if that makes sense. So similar to Woosa, I have a feeling there's going to be a bunch of changes, big or small. There's also a ton of bugs that need to be fixed. Hopefully that get fixed before she comes out. It's way more buggy than Woosa was. But she has, in PvE, just based on the numbers, might not be as good as Woosa, which is kind of a high bar anyway. But if they buff any of the abilities, then she probably will. But that's remain to be seen. The evasion is interesting because it's only a 5% evasion passive, and her dash, her 2-second cooldown dash, gives 9% evasion, but only for 5 seconds. So that works really well in trading. But the moment you're CC'd, that's going to run out. And you're not really going to have it for a majority of the combos that people are going to use on you. So it's really just that 5% that's kind of the big deal. But she does have an evasion offhand as well. And I don't know, she like, her main issue to me right now is just she has no CCs. It's a kind of a similar thing to Woosa, but I think her situation is actually worse when it comes to CCs, because I don't even think you can reliably do a good combo with the way she's built on labs.
Dead?
Well, because so check this out. She has 1 float, she has 2 stuns and 2 stiffs, and the float is really slow. So I don't know. One of her skills says it has a KD on the last hit, but it doesn't do anything. Yeah, it doesn't actually KD. Dude, like with 1 float, it's really hard. So if you catch with that float, for example, your only means to re-CC is like a stiff and then a stun. You're not going to get them back on the ground again. Which I think seems so weird. So I don't know how you really combo on her. But she does have a ton of range. Like all of her skills are so much more range than I thought. Like it is definitely like a caster or Corsair. Like it hits far. A good 6 or 7 of her abilities hit really, really, really far distance. The PvP damage, at least the way the numbers are set right now, all seem pretty decent. And she has a ton of protection and good movement. So it's just really like the CCs are kind of wonky.
So she's set up to be a mid-range mage that relies on DPS essentially instead of CCing.
Maybe that's the play. I don't even think mid-range. It is far range. Like her skills hit. I mean, you like Dream of Doom. Like every ability is basically like Dream of Doom style range. Yeah. It is super far.
Dream of Doom is long.
Dream of Doom is long. And that's what this is like. It is very long range. She definitely has some melee stuff too that you can mix in. I think her protected stun on 4D is really, really powerful. It has a big AoE. It hits on the first tick after your dash. So that stun is going to be really good. She has a range stiff that I think will be pretty good, but you'll have to use it wisely because you could get caught out of it. But the thing is with the way her float is and the lack of knockdowns is if you land a stiffen from range, even if you know you're going to land it, like if you're doing a damage test, like, hey, let me stiff you, and then I'm going to float immediately after, you can't get the float in time. It's too slow. So you'd have to stiffen, dash up, stun, and then do the float, but you don't really have time to do any filler skills because the float is so slow.
Isn't it very counterintuitive to have a range clasp in evasion? Or is it just me?
I thought so too, because that's kind of what Awaken Corsair is too, but I guess it's like, If you make a mistake, maybe you're more tanky. I don't know.
Not really, because if you don't commit on evasion, having low evasion makes you squishier than having... Like, being evasion without committing to tankiness makes you squishier than being DR without committing to tankiness, if it makes sense.
Right. No, for sure. Yeah, just if you're just like a non-committal evasion build, you're not really going to be that tanky. But if you go evasion, I guess it just depends on... Well, she definitely has some melee trade stuff as well. So she has a little bit of both.
Maybe the awakening skills or whatever you want to view them as, and the bombs change up the playstyle a little bit, maybe, and maybe that's why she's evasion. But it does seem weird to make a caster essentially evasion in this.
Does she feel similar to play as Woosa? Because she kind of looks similar a little bit.
Okay, so when we saw the trailer, there were definitely a couple of skills where I was like, okay, this is kind of a Woosa, but I don't think she feels like Woosa at all. The only thing where she really feels like Woosa, I think, is the movement. It has the same kind of flowy movement where she has kind of an RP animation after each ability, but you don't have to do that if you use other abilities. But if you're trying to, like, if you're in town and you're trying to talk to an NPC and you forward dash, you're going to hate her. You know what I mean? Because you got to wait for the RP animation to end before you could walk. The rest of her kit doesn't really feel like Woosa. It's weird too because she has so much range and she does have a lot of fast skills, but Woosa actually has a Sork vibe to her where in between each dash you could cast a skill dash, skill dash like pretty quickly and get off like 2 or 3 skills in a rotation, like moving around a target. Maegu doesn't feel like that. Her skills, you have to cast them. A lot of her skills, you have to sit there in the whole animation or it's not going to go off there. None of them are like, or very few of them are super, super quick abilities.
Interesting, okay.
A lot of them have more of a cast time than Woosa, but more range. So I don't know. Yeah, her range stuff is like crazy. The SL and B, at least if they leave the damage as it is, the way the numbers are, it's just forward guard for the entirety of the skill. It's super, super far range and it does so much damage. It's going to be an insane trade skill.
And I kind of want to ask you like a last question before we finish. What do you think about them releasing 2 classes? This is the first time they do this since the release of the game, where they release the Woosa and Maegu at the same time, or Ninja and Kuno. I'm almost worried about the game because I don't think releasing 2 classes is good for anything but the short-term profit of PA, right? Isn't it just very confusing? Like, you're a new player and you start in December and you see the loading screen on Woosa, and then you log in the next day and they have loading screen of another class, and the awakening of Woosa isn't even out. I don't know. I also don't think more classes are good for the game. I think they should step back, work a bit on what they have on the plate, because it's already a lot, it's already overflowing very much, and maybe then think about releasing new classes. But I do know that's their business model, and that's how they bring in the cash. So
yeah, all right. So I'll address the more classes thing at the end. But the for me, selfishly, I wasn't around for any of those double class releases, and I do get pretty hyped about new classes. So on a personal level, I love that these 2 classes are being released back to back, because right as I'm starting to, like, now I'm just comfortable with Woosa and it's not as new and fresh, I'm like, hell yeah, Maegu's about to be out. This is going to be fun again. And then a month or 2 after that, we're going to get Awakening. So it's like the next 4 months, I'm not going to be bored of my class, I guess, if that makes sense. So I love it for that, because I wasn't around for any of those double class releases, so I have no idea what those were like. And I thought we were going to get that with Striker Mystic, kind of, because remember in Korea, Striker and Mystic only came out a couple months apart, or maybe even 1 month apart. And then we had to wait 7 months. That was like the closest thing that we had, I guess. There's definitely worries. I think if you're a Woosa main and you love Woosa and you feel like she has any issues, now that Maegu's out, you're probably wondering, is anything else going to change, or is she going to be forgotten? But that's kind of how every class feels that isn't the newest class. You kind of wonder, sit there and wonder. I don't know, because so to address your more classes and also just the balance thing, it doesn't matter how many classes they have in this game. They're not going to do the balance changes that you want, Heedun. So I think the feeling of like more classes equals bad, we could have 5 classes and Searing Slam's still going to exist. You know what I mean? We could have literally only 5 classes and Searing Slam is always going to exist. I do understand it's difficult to balance multiple classes, and the more and more that you have, it's sort of like more and more on their plate for balancing. But like, 2 years ago when we had 6 less classes, they weren't doing balance changes. We sat with Suck Wizard for a year and a half. So I don't know how much it really impacts what they do with balancing, because their balancing is such a roll of the dice anyway. Is that a fair statement? In a theoretical sense,
it
where
got
it's like
worse
we only
with
have
Succession, because Succession doubled the amount.
Yeah.
And every class release is it's 2 extra classes.
That is true. So we essentially, once we have, if my math is correct in my head here, once we have Maegu out and both their awakenings, we'll have 50 playable specs, which is a lot. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, the class balance is always a crapshoot anyway. I almost feel like they've made so many classes at this point. There's a formula where it seems like it actually wouldn't even be that hard to balance. Like, the thing is, Heedun, like, wouldn't it be cool if we could just go to Korea? Just you and me. We'll just do a little partner trip. Just you and me. We go to Korea, sit in the balancing room with them, and we ask them, like, what are you guys doing today? Like, show us your day to day. I want to see what...
Prove us that you are working.
I want to see, like, when the discussion, like, hey, I'm seeing, like, they bring up, like, a forum post from KR. It's like, this is saying... a lot of these people are complaining that Musa is too good. What do we think, team? And I want to hear the response. I want to hear that debate that they're having where they're like, nah, it's fine. And they conclude with that. You know what I mean? I really want to hear that so badly. And I don't think any number of classes is going to fix whatever the end of that conversation ends up being every time. I don't know what the balancing is that goes on, but at the end of the day, if... as long as Maegu ends up somewhere around Woosa's balance, I'm okay with it because they're catchable. So I think the way Maegu plays, at least on labs currently, it definitely has a ton of protection and you could stay safe. But if it wants to CC someone, which you're going to want to do in Solare because you eventually get desperate and you're just like, I need a CC, they're definitely catchable and punishable. So if classes came out more around the balance level of Woosa Maegu, at least in their initial state that I can see, would feel a lot better than what happened with, like, Suck Corsair, Suck Drax, Suck Sage at their launches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh yeah, Maegu, on a side note, as a reminder, Maegu has no S block or Q block. So you have to use your abilities constantly. It's a very Suck Sork type vibe to that.
To close the episode, we are asking every guest to tell us their favorite song. You don't have to overthink it. Making a playlist and adding all the songs to create a nice Loot Scroll podcast music playlist on Spotify. So without thinking too much about it, what is your favorite song currently?
Oh, God. Dude, that's so hard to answer. I don't know.
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Dude, oh my God. Dude, I don't even know, man. I'm just gonna go with, like, a punk song from my roots. I really love the song called The Defense by Bad Religion.
All right. Perfect.
This is very obscure, though, probably for most people.
Is Bad Religion obscure? I don't think they are, but...
No, they're not, but relative to pop culture, they are very obscure. You know what I mean?
It's not Taylor Swift, that's for sure.
It's not Taylor Swift. That is for sure. Yeah, it is not Taylor Swift. You know who Bad Religion is, Heedun? Look at you, man.
Of course.
I knew I liked you. I despite the whole Sork thing, you're actually a pretty cool dude, man.
I don't know if it's a compliment, but with that, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Loot Scroll podcast. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, it was fun for you, just like it was fun for me when you had me in your podcast many years ago.
Yeah, I think it's cool that the Loot Scroll comes with a value pack every day, you know?
Never thought about that, actually.
Thank you so much. Of course, all the links to Frosty, all his socials and stream are all going to be in the description. And thank you so much again from me, Namiko, and Frosty. See ya next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.